Well, hello everyone. I am Dr. Carla Couturier. I am the founder of Inner Compass Teen Coaching, and I am an expert teen life coach. And I want to welcome everyone that is here tonight. We are going to be talking about technology and teenagers tonight, so tech mastery for teens. So even though this is about teens, this training is for parents. This masterclass will give you some tips and strategies, what to do with your teens with technology if you are having some obstacles with your teen in different types of technology, whether it be phones, whether it be video gaming. So we're going to run through some of those things tonight. So without further ado, I do want to explain coaching a little bit, because I know everyone knows what coaching is. It's a newer type of thing in the past 10 years, 20 years or so. But for teenagers, this is something really brand new. So coaching is a little bit different than tutoring. We're not working on homework or anything like that. And it's also different than it being a diagnosis from a therapist. So this is what I do is I help teens to design their future self, to break through any barriers of their issues with their confidence, issues with their mindset, and flip that mindset into them, rewiring their belief systems and becoming their best teen they can be. So just a little bit about me. I was a teacher. I am an assistant principal, and I am a college professor. So when I was a teenager, I really wish I had a coach. And I, in hindsight, noticed I had coaches. So I didn't have what you would say is a life coach as it's defined today, but I did have coaches as far as teachers, sports, family members, friends, things like that. So in essence, I could get into this into more detail, and I do in some of my posts, but I then became a teacher and an assistant principal, and I started noticing this gap, this developmental gap. And that's why I delved into coaching a little bit more, because I would see teens, whether it be in my office getting in trouble, whether it just be with, issues with other teens, like where I'd have to do mediations, whether it be problems with their parents or their teachers, but there was this gap in emotionality. So this is like this relationship gap per se, this emotional gap. So they didn't know how to handle emotions, or they didn't know how to handle the situation, or they kept making the same mistakes over and over again, and they became habits. And it was really, in my opinion, there was just this need for more support for teens. So schools do a really, really good job, but schools are set up for academics. So that's where my business comes in, and my Facebook page. So I offer a lot of valuable content, free content through posts, through PDFs and other documents that I offer, these types of masterclasses, any types of trainings. So a lot of value there. And if you then determine, hey, this is someone that I might want to work with. I have a teenager, or I am a parent, and sometimes I do coach parents. And, I like what she's saying. She has the same values as me, the same beliefs. And I think, my teen or myself could benefit from this coaching. You would just reach out to me. And if we find that, okay, I think this is a good fit, we can head into one-on-one coaching. So that's kind of the journey through Inner Compass Teen Coaching. So feel free to reach out to me at any point. You can just DM me, you can friend me. We have a Facebook group, and that's a little bit about me and how the process works. So to get into the content for tonight, teens at this point, they are digital natives. They have never lived in a world without the amount of technology that we have today. And we know all the kinds of technology that we have. And I imagine, because I'm not a teen, but I imagine for some teens, it can be a lot to handle. So I grew up in a time where you had to physically call someone, you meet up, and then you had to literally be there at the time that you agreed upon. There was no texting, there was no last minute, this, that, and the other thing. It was really, you had to call, You had to say we're going to meet at the park, and then you had to be at the park at 7 p.m., whatever it was. So it's very different today, even though it's not better or it's not worse. It's just different. There's just a lot more coming at teens. There's a lot more, on social media. There's a lot more in video gaming, TV, YouTube, laptops, you name it. So we, as mature people, let's say that, are digital immigrants. So, we do live in a time where we are up on technology. We're not, walking around without a phone, but we are not native to it. So it is something that we, can, in some instances, put down. But point being, there's a gap. So teens do not know a lot more than we do about different phones and sites and, the gambit of things. They also, might have some developmental issues or concerns because they haven't been able to process things the way we have without technology. So technology, I'm going to get into some of the things, or some of the ways, that it is positive. So, educationally, you can definitely, we can go into the list of ways that technology can be used educationally in a positive way. But there are really a lot of ways that teens can process. They can build up their memory. They can problem solve. So you realize teens can code switch really easily, go from texting these random words we don't even know what they mean to speaking in full sentences with us. And I'm going to bring up AI, even though, sometimes people think AI and they just think cheating. But AI really can be used as a tool for those, students, for example, that have they struggle with writing. They can use, sentence starters and how to write paragraphs and so on. And so there is a lot of positive that comes out of technology. Another thing where the gap is, for me personally, I tend to meet people in person, and that's how we meet. And for teens, it happens a lot. They are at school with whomever they're at, and that's who their friends are, or their friend group, or their acquaintances. But they also are a lot more connected to some extent socially online. And because that is native to them. So that's another kind of gap that we have here between us, but it's another positive because it is a good thing to be connected in that way. Another thing that teens can use technology in a good way for is it is really their digital resume, but that's something they also have to be very careful about because what they post stays there, and it really does stay there. So that's something that they may know but don't really think matters. So we'll get into some of the issues with technology, but using technology and teaching teens how to skillfully create a positive, really strong digital resume. And I can speak to this. Many of the students that have graduated are friends with me on, especially LinkedIn, interestingly enough, but different platforms. And I notice, and I'll speak specifically to LinkedIn because that lends itself more to, the digital resume. But if I might be friends with them on multiple platforms, and I do see them post like stories, and it's fun, and they're at college, and this is that, and that's great. And then they're also posting on LinkedIn certain things about research articles that they've done or businesses that they have or things they're doing at college. So there is a way for teens to really use technology and use social media specifically in a positive way. It doesn't always have to be with drama and all of that. So those are the things we want to teach teens and how to do those things versus the negative effects of social media specifically. So at this point, I would say, for those of you that are watching or those of you who might be watching the replay, a question that I want you to think about for yourself is, what have you been, as a parent, hesitating to do or say with your teen in regards to technology? So kind of what's getting in the way? If you potentially haven't set boundaries and are trying to or want to or aren't effective with them. Maybe you want to have a difficult discussion about something specific that has occurred with technology and you've been putting it off. Or you, instead of having a discussion, kind of got upset and had something that did not turn into a discussion. So Maybe it's something that you want to just, set a family boundary with. So is there something that you've been hesitating to do with technology, or have you tried some strategies and they're just not working? So just, maybe take a minute if you're watching this and replay, pause it, or write it down if you're watching right now, and just to think about, kind of what's getting in the way, what's holding me back from maybe having this conversation or setting this boundary, or sometimes you set the boundary, but it's sticking to this boundary. So the consistency is really important. So just to give you some background on some of the numbers that have to do with technology. And I was sitting today with some teens and explaining, coaching to them, and they understood what it was. And I told them some of the things that I worked on with teens, and I said relationships. And right away, they were all like, yes, relationships. And they all kind of were thinking of, romantic relationships. And, it is kind of funny, but it is true. And, essentially 1 in 4 teens communicate with a significant other between midnight and 5 a.m. So that's very concerning. So 25% of kids, and this is data. So, this data changes, or, but point being, that's a huge percentage of kids up in the middle of the night texting or communicating in some other manner with their friends or with their significant others. So super scary. Teens process approximately 3,700 to 4,000 texts weekly. So I don't know about you, but that number really hit me, and it is overwhelming. So that overuse and over addiction to just touching that phone. But with that being said, teens are super, I guess, I don't want to say interested isn't the word, but they need to be in connection with their friends. Like, that is their lifeline. And there is no ifs, ands, or buts about that. So I can understand that they're getting that many texts, but I also know, could that, that potentially be very harmful? Absolutely. The fact that you're just trying to process all this information, and your brain does need a break. So another important fact is that 1 in 5 teens have engaged in cyberbullying. Many teens have multiple identities online. And this is something I see quite often, whether it be, whatever platform it's on, doesn't make a difference. Point is the multiple online identities do, one, concern me, just because I guess I'm a digital immigrant and not a digital native, and I just would never think to make a pretend identity. But then it also is concerning because if, regardless of your age, why do you need to make this identity? So in the past, as I stated earlier in this message, if people had a problem with each other years ago, they might talk it out, they might yell it out, they might fight. But then they would get it out and it would be over. Whereas today, if there is some sort of problem that either starts online or starts in school, it just doesn't end. And it can be with a fake account. It can be with a friend. A lot of kids give each other their information to get onto their accounts, their passwords. It could be a whole myriad of things that just make life so complicated when, what is the reason we are focusing on this? Why? So we never want to say why to teens, but it's the question in your head. So there are ways to handle that other than, saying why and coaching them through that. But what is it, and this is what we do in coaching, what is it that has led you up to acting in such a manner? So if you needed to create a fake identity, if you felt like you wanted to, if you thought it was funny, if you, would you have said this to this person face to face? Most times, probably not. And do you even remember what the initial problem was that you had? And what is the reason it's still continuing? So those are some of the kind of, the things that I've noticed that we have to kind of get at as, the deeper rooted meanings and feelings and emotions behind the actions that teens are taking. So they may, just of course, impulsively respond to something or start something, or something happens and they react to it. So these are all of this impulsivity, these reactions, and these responses are really harming them in the long run. So, to coach them through that, and it really, really is important. I know that there's been a lot of situations that could have easily been avoided or lessened the intensity of, had a student just spoken to an adult, and a trusted adult. We are here for teens, and we are here to help them through these types of things. But a lot of times they, for whatever reason, they want to take it in their own hands, and it becomes a very harmful situation. And cyberbullying is real, and it's really sad in certain cases, for those teens who are the victims of cyberbullying, but also for those teens that are inflicting that, because deep down, both the victim as well as the perpetrator have some really deep-seated emotions that they need to handle, and unfortunately they're handling it in a public manner, which can be very devastating. For teens, it's really important that they have this knowledge, and to talk a little bit more about some of the other effects. Obviously, it affects teens' brains. We have a rise in attention deficit disorder, and part of that might be because, everyone has it now. So, just because you can't pay attention, I understand that's a thing, but it actually really is a thing. So, how many hundreds of times are you picking up your phone? Are you touching it? Are you, you don't even, if you really reflect, you don't even have a reason to look at it. So a lot of teens sometimes get into unhealthy bonds as well. So they're unhealthily bonded to a friend, an acquaintance, someone they think is their friend, because they need this validation. They ultimately are looking for love, not being romantic love, but they want people to like them. Of course, the more teens are on video games, the less they are outside running around or working out at the gym or taking care of themselves in another manner. So gaming tends to definitely get in the way of the regular habits of teens. So a lot of times kids aren't sleeping, they're going to bed late, they're getting up and they're all groggy, and they need that physical activity. So that's a huge problem. And the fact that a lot of teens' physical health is deteriorating due to this. And there's a lot of also, you do hear a lot of stories about those people on the internet that are posing as, friends or teens. There's a lot of scary things that could potentially happen online as well. And those conversations need to be had with teens. Parents need to be super involved in their usage of technology, and especially on video games. You're connecting with people, you're playing this game. That's nice, and to some extent that you have some social interactions with some others, but if you don't know who these people are, it can be very, very dangerous. So kind of reflecting a little bit, think to yourself of what strategies you have used with your teen to monitor, to curb technology habits, and were any of those effective? And if so, what made them effective? If they were not, what was the reason that they were not effective? So what are we going to continue to use, and what do we want to tweak? So think about that for a few minutes. And if you are watching this on replay, you can pause that and think about that. So I wanted to talk about some guidelines for best practices. So one thing we can do with teens is listen to them, and we can really hear what they're saying. So we want to embrace their world. And I know this doesn't have to do with technology, but if you have a teen that's consistently gaming, I'm not saying join in and game all night with them, but get involved, ask them questions about it, have them teach you how to play it. The more that you're involved and understand it, the less it seems like you're just trying to shut it down with them. and they have no control. Because with teens, it's a lot about control. So what is it that, you can do to help them have more of a sense of control? So that's a huge thing for teens in any aspect of their lives. But with technology, that is super important as well. Discuss privacy with them. Discuss what you should share and shouldn't share. What is okay to share and what is not okay. What is crossing the line to post on social media. What games are there that are really, this is just too over the edge. This is too adult for you. And it's just not the time. That's just not, that's not what I want you to engage in or what you should be engaging in at this stage in your life. And having those difficult conversations. And then, taking some time to take a break and to balance, whether it be taking a walk outside and grounding, whether it be physically actually meditating, whether it be just putting the phone down and doing something else. And not for 5 minutes, but for, a chunk of time each day is very important to put that down, because teens are on their phone as soon as they wake up. They're on their phone as soon as they go to sleep. And that can be, really detrimental to their brain growth, to the thoughts and ideas that they have. When you sleep, you really are resetting and restarting. So when you wake up and you get right on that, you've taken and kind of wasted all that positive energy that your body has stored up overnight. And that is definitely something to curb. And I'll get into a little bit, and it's something in a minute, but also, when I say all of these things, it's also about parents modeling this behavior as well. Because if a parent is saying, do this, don't do that, do this, don't do that, and then they're doing those same things, it's much less effective. So by all means, setting some sort of family guidelines and family boundaries where everyone has a say. So everyone has input into what these boundaries and guidelines should be. So it really lends itself, in my opinion, to creating a media use agreement. So what is the family's media use agreement going to be? And parents have to follow that too, because we can talk all day about teens, and that is definitely, in many teens' cases, something they need to work on. But are we as parents also seeing, oh wow, maybe I am using my phone too much, or maybe I'm not paying attention to my family when I'm at home, I just go get on my laptop. And understood that some people have, jobs that they do need to take work home, or they do work from home, but are we setting the boundaries in our lives to be healthier with technology? Are we, watching YouTube in bed on our phone when we're yelling at our teen that they're on, gaming all night? So are we setting the boundaries with ourselves and modeling that behavior with others, with our other family members and our teens? So that's super important. And one thing that I will offer, and I do have a readily made media use agreement. So if you're watching this now, you can definitely DM me. I can send that over to you. If you are watching this in replay, please DM me. I have a media use agreement all set up, and you can sit down with your family. You can use that as a guideline to create some stronger boundaries and refer to it. So, it should be a working document. It should be something that you take a look at. Everyone in the family sits down, determines what they like about it, what they don't like about it, what they want to change, what they want to edit. And it doesn't have to be, going from 0 to 60. It doesn't have to be that everyone has no phones in the house whatsoever. Obviously, it can be something small, step by step, just starting at no phones at the dinner table, or no phones at a certain time of night. Or maybe we all use our phones together, but we're using it for something specific, like we're reading. So you can flip it and have tech time too. It doesn't have to be just no. But maybe we all play a specific video game together for a certain amount of time. So technology can be used to bring families together as well. It doesn't just have to be this negative thing. I would strongly suggest staying connected with your teens on any social media that they are a part of. I would strongly suggest putting any kind of boundaries within their phone on that you feel would be useful for your teen based upon their usage. I do want to get into some facts about adult technology use because, as I said before, it is about modeling for teens. So I looked at some data, and about 1 in 5 teenagers use YouTube almost constantly. So that's about 25%. About 31% of adults admit this, so even more. The same goes for using phones during dinner time. 38% of teens use phones during dinner time, and 45% of adults. Teens and adults spend 7.5 to 10 hours daily on technology. So, as I state all of these concerns about technology, what I am also stating is how involved are you in technology? So, are you able to put your phone down? Are you able to set boundaries with yourself? So you may want to start doing it with yourself first before you try to institute it with your teen, and realize, like, in some cases, how hard it can be. So the question is, what is the behavior change you can commit to in regards to your technology use? So can you commit to one change? Whether it be, I wake up at 6 and I'm not going to look at my phone until 7, just one change, or, a certain time of night, I'm going to shut it down. I'm not going to go on technology, or I'm going to replace the video game that I play, or the YouTube that I'm watching, or the work that I'm doing with making dinner, or sitting down and reading a book, whatever it might be. So think about something that you can commit to in regards to technology use that would be a positive thing for you to model to your teen. So I have shared with you some of the kind of concerns with technology, with gaming, the effects on your teen's brain. I do have a whole video about the effects of what happens to your teen's brain. And also, what are the strategies that you can implement for yourself, for your family, and for specifically your teens, and what's going to work for your family. So again, I have that social media contract that if you DM me, I'm willing to share with you. Also, we do have a free Facebook group with more tips and strategies, and we're really building a community of like-minded parents. If you would like to join my Facebook group, you can just go onto my homepage. You can DM me. You can find it. It's called the Teen Parenting Collective. And if you did find that value in this masterclass right now, please let me know. Send me a message. I would love to hear your feedback. And if you found it to be valuable, let me know what about it was valuable for you. So I do want to thank you for your time, and I hope to see you within our community.